If you were born between the years 1955 and 1975, this message did not reach you by chance. It is not just another video among thousands. It is not content to consume and forget. It is a sign, a call, a divine reminder that has waited decades to find you at exactly this moment in your life when your eyes read these words, when your heart is open enough, tired enough, hungry enough for truth, to recognize that something within you always knew this day would come. There are encounters that seem accidental, but were traced before you were born. This is one of them. You are part of a unique generation, a bridge generation, a hinge generation between two eras of humanity. You were born into a world that still breathed ancient certainties, structures inherited from centuries, values passed from mouth to mouth, from hand to hand. But you grew up watching all of that collapse, transform, digitize, and accelerate until it became unrecognizable. You witnessed the last breath of one age and the first cry of another. And it was no coincidence. You were chosen to be right there, at that threshold, because your soul carried a mission that could only be fulfilled at that precise historical and spiritual crossroads. There was a purpose in sending you in those years, a design, a plan beyond the understanding of your parents, your teachers, even yourself for decades. You arrived on a planet preparing for its great transmutation, and your role was not merely to live, but to anchor, sustain, translate, resist, and finally transmit something essential before the doors close and the cycle is completed. Because cycles do complete, always, and the one you have lived is reaching its culmination. You are now between 50 and 70 years old. You have lived long enough to know the taste of error and the grace of forgiveness. You have loved and you have lost. You have built and you have watched things fall. You have believed and you have doubted. You have fought the world and yourself. And at some point along the way, perhaps without realizing it, you began to feel something different. A restlessness that distractions cannot calm. A question that returns every night before sleep. A sense that time is pressing, that something is unfinished, something you were meant to do, to say, or to give, and that still hangs suspended in the air of your existence. That restlessness is not anxiety. It is a calling. It is the whisper of your soul, reminding you who you truly are and why you came. Because you did not come merely to survive, to accumulate, to grow old and disappear. You came to close an ancient circle, to settle a sacred debt, to complete a task that began long before this body existed, and that must be finished before you leave this dimension. J.J. Benítez, that tireless explorer of the invisible, that seeker of truths hidden behind the veils of the everyday, dedicated his life to unraveling the mysteries that institutional religion buried under dogma and that scientific materialism dismissed as inconvenient. And in his investigations, his writings, his revelations, there is a common thread that runs through all of us who were born in that window of time. He sensed it, he traced it, he documented it. We are carriers of a memory. We are custodians of a transition. We are the last witnesses of a world that is leaving and the first announcers of one that is coming. God, or whatever name you prefer for that infinite intelligence that sustains the galaxies and knows. Every beat of your heart has something to tell you, not through temples or intermediaries or rituals. Directly, from consciousness to consciousness, from essence to essence. And the message is this: your time on earth is entering its final phase, but your mission is not yet finished. In fact, it is about to reach its most crucial moment. Look at your life so far. Look at the crossroads, the losses, the brutal lessons that broke you and rebuilt you. Every failure was a chisel. Every pain was a purifying fire. Every solitude was a necessary retreat. You were not being punished. You were being prepared, forged, tempered like steel that must withstand extreme pressure because it has been assigned an extreme task. And that task was not to conquer the outer world. It was to master the inner world. It was to awaken. It was to remember. Remember what, you may ask? Remember that you are more than this aging body. More than this identity built from surnames, professions, and social roles. You are a spark of the eternal experiencing temporal limitation. You are a fragment of the divine exploring matter, and your journey here, on this convulsed earth, in this age of fractures and revelations, had a very specific purpose: to learn, to integrate, and then to give. Give what? That is the question you should be asking yourself right now. What wisdom have you gathered in 5, 6, 7 decades of existence? What truths have you discovered in your darkest moments? What love have you learned to cultivate when everything else failed? What patience, what compassion, what silent understanding Have you developed by watching others make the same mistakes you once made? None of that was only for you. It was meant to be transmitted, shared, sown in the souls of those who come after you, before it is too late. Because time is shortening. Events are accelerating. The world as you knew it is collapsing at dizzying speed. Structures that seemed eternal are disintegrating in years, in months, in days. Certainties that sustained civilizations for centuries evaporate like mist in the sun. And in the midst of that chaos, new generations desperately seek compasses, beacons, reference points to help them not get lost in the storm. You are one of those beacons, but only if you turn on your light. Only if you stop hiding behind comfort, fear, or the excuse that it is already too late. It is not too late. It is exactly the moment. Your spiritual maturity, the kind earned by walking through personal hells and emerging on the other side with your heart still open, is now the most valuable resource you possess. Your ability to see beyond appearances, not to be seduced by the superficial. To detect what is false and honor what is authentic. That is what the world desperately needs right now. But you must give it. You must offer it. Not from the arrogance of one who believes himself a teacher, but from the humility of one who has been broken and healed so many times that he no longer judges, he simply understands. Look around you. Look at young people lost in screens, numbed, disconnected from themselves. Look at adults trapped in routines that drain their souls day after day. Look at meaninglessness disguised as success. Look at loneliness multiplying amid millions of virtual connections. Look at fear turned into the norm. Look at distrust poisoning relationships. Look at manipulation disguised as information. And now ask yourself, do I have something to offer in the face of this? Have I learned something in my life that could illuminate, even slightly, this landscape? The answer is yes, even if you do not believe it. Even if you feel small, insignificant, inadequate. Yes, your story matters. Your learning matters. Your conscious presence matters. Every time you choose truth over convenience. Every time you offer real presence instead of distraction. Every time you speak from the heart instead of repeating what is expected of you. You are fulfilling your mission. You are being the bridge you came to be. But there is more. Something that is not said out loud but must be said now. Your time on this physical plane is limited, and that limit is approaching. This is not a threat. It is reality. It is the natural rhythm of embodied existence. And before that inevitable moment arrives, there are accounts to settle. Not necessarily with others, though sometimes yes, but with yourself, with your own soul, with the promises you made before being born and perhaps forgot along the way. What remains undone? What love remains unexpressed? What forgiveness is still stuck in your throat? What truth are you still hiding out of fear of rejection? What passion did you bury under layers of responsibility and resignation? What inner calling are you still ignoring because it seems too late, too difficult, too crazy? This is the moment to unearth all of that, to face it, to honor it, to fulfill its heaven, imperfectly, even partially, even if only by taking the first step. Because when your time to depart arrives, and it will, as it does for everyone, you will not be asked how much money you accumulated, how many achievements you earned, how many people you impressed. You will be asked if you loved, if you were brave, if you were authentic, if you fulfilled what you came to fulfill. And that question will not come from an external judge seated on a throne of clouds. It will come from yourself, from the deepest and most honest part of your being, which knows, always knew, and always will know, whether you lived your truth or played someone else's role. The generation born between 1955 and 1975 has a characteristic that no other possesses in recent human history. You knew the world without the internet, without mobile phones, without virtual reality, without artificial intelligence. You knew slowness, silence, waiting, the fertile boredom from which deep questions are born. But you have also lived the digital revolution, globalization, infinite information at the click of a button. You have witnessed the greatest technological and social transformation ever seen. And that dual experience, having one foot in each world, gives you a unique perspective, a necessary balance between the ancient and the new, between the human and the technological, between the sacred and the profane. You are the ones who can remind humanity what is being lost in the rush, what wisdom was left behind in the race forward, what essential values are being sacrificed on the altar of progress. But you are also the ones who can embrace the new without fear, without paralyzing nostalgia, because you have proven your capacity to adapt, to learn, to reinvent yourselves. And now, In this final stage of your earthly mission, you are being asked to do the hardest thing, to let go of control, to trust the process, to accept that you will not see the full fruit of your efforts, that you are only planting seeds that others will harvest. You are being asked to be wise elders in a culture that despises old age. You are being asked to be voices of moderation amid collective hysteria. You are being asked to be bearers of hope without denying the gravity of the moment. You are being asked to be bridges between generations that seem unable to speak to one another. You are being asked, ultimately, to be what you came to be, silent teachers of a humanity in transition. This does not mean you must become a guru or a preacher. It means you must live more authentically than ever, that you must speak your truth when necessary and keep wise silence when silence is more eloquent, that you must forgive, starting with yourself, that you must love, even when it hurts, even when it costs, even when it is not returned, that you must create, even modestly, even if no one sees it, because the act of creating is itself a prayer, that you must serve not from sacrifice, but from fullness, because you have discovered that giving from a full heart is the only kind of giving that does not exhaust. God, that presence, some call the universe, source, cosmic consciousness, or simply love, does not ask you to be perfect. He asks you to be real. He does not ask you to know everything. He asks you to recognize what is essential. He does not ask you to save the world. He asks you to save your own soul from the betrayal of forgetting, from numbness, from premature surrender. That there is urgency in this message, because the clock is moving forward, and the opportunities to fulfill your purpose are not infinite in this incarnation. Every day that passes without taking the step you know you must take, every conversation you avoid, every act of love you postpone, every truth you silence, becomes a pending account. And although divine mercy is infinite, you are not infinite in this body. Your years are numbered. Your energy has limits. Your window for action is narrowing. But there is still time. You can still correct your course. You can still say what you did not say. You can still do what you did not do. You can still be who you truly are, instead of who you thought you had to be. And when you do, when you finally dare to live from your center, from your deepest truth, you will discover that everything else was noise, distraction, rehearsal for this final moment when you finally become the most authentic version of yourself. The final destiny this message speaks of is not only your physical death, it is your spiritual destiny, the place you will occupy in the great symphony of conscious evolution, the mark you will leave not on bronze plaques, but in transformed hearts, the echo of your existence in eternity. And that destiny is being decided now, in these remaining years. In the choices you make day after day between fear and love, between truth and lies, between presence and escape. You are not alone in this. Millions of souls from your generation are feeling this same call, living this same restlessness, facing this same moment of truth. It is a silent collective awakening, a massive spiritual maturation happening beneath the surface of media, noise, and apparent chaos. You are an invisible community of light-bearers who may not know each other, but who are fulfilling each in their own way, same essential purpose. So listen, truly listen, not with your ears, but with that part of you that recognizes truth when it encounters it. This message is for you. It arrived at the exact moment you needed to hear it, and what you do with it will define the final chapters of your story in this world. Are you ready to answer the call? If this message resonated deeply within you, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with others from your generation who need to hear these words. Leave a comment telling me what it awakened in you. Subscribe to receive more revelations that will help you complete your mission. And remember, you did not arrive here by accident. Your soul brought you exactly where you needed to be. Now, act accordingly.